So my grandfather had a saying, you're either going to feed your ego or your family when it comes to business. You can't do both. Well, I am choosing to feed my ego for once. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Tiege Hanley Starting a Business Building Brand Vlog. This one, big number 360. So, few updates before I get into all of your amazing business questions. And I just want to thank you guys for hooking me up, because this vlog is all about you talking about business and answering any questions you may have. It's a dialogue. And without the questions, it's just me rambling, and I'm not that interesting. But the first thing I want to do is give you an update. I just came from my house that I'm building. Would it surprise you that I hit another snag? Oh, we're doing more, those helical piers I told you about, right? Well, we're doing the next section of them because we have to pour the foundation in different sections in the wall because of backfilling and all sorts of, anyway. We're doing the piers and we start hitting like rocks and debris, and so we're trying to figure out like what to do, whether or not we've got to excavate more dirt stuff and try and figure out if there's like a trash pile or something underneath some of these piers. We were just digging a bunch of them in different spots. A lot of them went in great, some of them did not, and so we're trying to figure out what's going on there. We will be framing this house, hopefully, if all things go well, in January. So it's going to take the next few months to do the retaining walls and the footings and the slab and backfill and compact and get everything sexy and ready to rock. But by the time we start, we're going to be off to the races. But the good news is that my builder I just saw, he's like, hey, the good news with all of this taking so long is that the cost of lumber has literally plummeted, and it's going to continue to go down. So by the time we're building your house and we do your framing package, you'll probably literally have saved like $150,000 by this dragging on. It's kind of a wash because, if I'm being honest, all these extra things that we're hitting cost more money, so it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But the first question I want to talk about from last vlog has to do with Enemy. Last week I told you that I am shutting down Enemy, and to date we have sold roughly, I'm going to tell you the numbers. I got to sell like 4,000, a little over 4,000 units, plus all the auxiliary other stuff that we have in inventory, like the wallets and the bracelets, stuff like that. To date, we have sold 62,700. Can you say it? $62,700 worth of sunglasses, which is great. We're through about, like, I guess almost like a third, maybe a little less than a third of the inventory. I have not done a promotion on my Alpha M YouTube channel yet, but I filmed it, and I'm thinking that if I can move through all of these units, all 4,000 of these units by the end of November, I'll be in good shape. Anyway, support. Thank you so much for your support. I've seen the comments and I've gotten the emails. You guys are amazing in terms of helping me get rid of these inventory, but the good news is that you're gonna have some sick ass shades for an amazing price, and they're gonna literally be like collector's items. So if you're interested in grabbing them, 50% off while they last down below. But there was an interesting question about Enemy from AJ De Vera. He says, hey Aaron, my question is, did you try to sell the Enemy business? I'm sad to see it go, as I'm a fan of the brand. I have 5 pairs. Keep up the good work, and thanks for the inspiration for not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Cheers. So, great question. Have I tried to sell it? Yes, I did a while ago. There's a website called Empire Flippers. If you guys are interested in buying like a business or selling a business, that is a place where it's like a marketplace. I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, you know, what would it look like? Could I sell it? And that business and a lot of these like sort of online brands that get sold in that capacity are mainly like Amazon fulfillment or fulfilled by Amazon like companies. So that's really like their sweet spot. There are other ones, but the biggest problem was that I was responsible for the majority of our sales. And everybody's like, okay, well, if they buy the brand, they buy this, they buy that, like they have to basically start from zero trying to figure out how to buy or how to sell sunglasses. And so they passed on me. And so I was like, shit, okay, I got to figure this out myself. Now we're at this point, right? Would I consider selling it? And actually, one of you actually reached out to ask about it. And when I sat down and actually thought about it, the answer is no. No, I would not be interested in selling Enemy. And there's a few reasons, but the main reason, and this is my ego, totally ego, is that I honestly would be pissed off. If I sold it to somebody, call it $500,000, right? Here's Enemy, $500,000. If I started getting Enemy ads Or if I heard that Enemy like became like this like super successful brand and was bought by Luxottica for like $100 million, I don't know that I'd be able to handle that. Or I could handle it, but I think I'd always be like super like resentful and like pissed off. So if I'm being honest, the reason why I don't really want to sell it is because I don't want to see somebody else be successful with it. I know that's so stupid, but aside from my ego, when you really crunch the numbers, here's how it works out. So I've got 4,000, little over 4,000 sunglasses. We'll just use sunglasses. I got a lot of wallets and minimal wallets and bracelets, stuff like that. Just use sunglasses. All right, I've got like over 4,000. Call it 4,000 for easy math. I'm selling each one for like 50 bucks. That's like $200,000 that I will be generating from just selling through that inventory. Now, it's not all profit, obviously, because there was cost associated with buying it, right? Of course. Now, there's also some other things that I'm potentially going to sell in the future, which is the website, the domain. I've been going online to try and figure out like what enemy.com is currently worth. I paid $45,000. I think it's worth, all right, let's put it this way. I won't sell it for under $100,000. That's kind of like my number. If somebody wants to offer me $100,000 for enemy.com, I'll sell it. If not, I'll just sit on it. And hopefully, or maybe in the future, I'll want to do something else or another business. And Enemy is just a really cool name for like whatever, right? Not for like cat toys, but like stuff that I'd be interested in. Enemy would be cool, all right? Like Enemy, whatever, like it would be cool. So I've got the domain, so I don't need to sell it. But if I sold it for like $100,000, now I've generated like $300,000 from liquidating basically everything. Now you throw on some of the other things that are coming out or that I'm selling, you know, call it an extra $50,000. So there's like $350,000 that I could potentially generate from moving everything out of Enemy. But now another question is, how much could I actually sell the business for? I'd have to sell them the inventory I had, right? So I can't like, you know, kind of double dip there. I can't sell out of my inventory and then be like, here you go, here's no sunglasses and a domain and Instagram account and a website. Good luck. Thanks. $500,000. I'll take it now. So like if somebody were going to buy it, it would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of like $500,000, like 500 grand. And so for me, is 150,000, which would be kind of like the delta of that, as opposed to me like selling through, is it worth it? Is $150,000 worth it for me to try to actually go through the process of selling? Because that's the other thing, right? It's not just about somebody being like, okay, here's my credit card, take it. There's going to be a lot of due diligence. There's going to be a lot of stuff. And I want to be done this year because I don't want to do taxes. So with everything else I got going on, I have chosen or decided to feed my ego as opposed to my family. But do you guys get it? What would you do? Would you try and sell it? Or would you just be like, yo, I tried, it didn't work, peace, deuces, I'm out. So a comment I just want to read because it touched me is from our friend, the extended board from Curtis. He says, and this is one I just want to say thank you. And like comments like this, like you can't imagine how much I appreciate them. He says, I've always supported Aaron's products, even when they're on their way out. The amount of value you have provided over the years in free content deserves every dollar of my support. You have never once sold people a class. I tried the style system, but that didn't work because I suck and I don't really like selling classes because it doesn't feel right, or made them feel inferior in any way. And you could have easily mopped the floor with your following of people that would like to be like you. Instead, you pitch reliable products that we've been able to stand behind, and the few times you pitched something that didn't go well, you manned up about it and did a video explaining the issue. Got my super fresh deodorant a few weeks ago, and my Enemy aviators are on the way, and I still have Tiege in the shower, LOL. Thanks for all the content and being a voice we can trust in a minefield of bullshit advertising. Thank you, Curtis. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your support and just that really nice comment. The next business question, I'm going to go through these because there are a lot of them. And guys, if you have a business question, down below, start it with business question and ask. I'm going to try and blast through these bad boys. Stephen Blair says, when you start a business and spend years building it and hit most of all of your goals, how do you figure out the next step without just doing the same thing but a bigger scale? So Stephen Blair, that's a great question. I don't know because I have never hit all of my goals in any of my businesses. I think that when you become a business or an entrepreneur, right, you know, you're going to continue to evolve as you go through that business. And the one thing that you can, you can look at in terms of goals is sales, right? Sales numbers, profit numbers, like whatever it may be. And so I have never, I think, like I'm a ride or die type of dude, right? Like Tiege, I think the end goal for that, I know what the end goal in Tiege Hanley is, and that is to sell it at some point to a big company for hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the goal with Tiege Hanley. And I think, honestly, that's going to happen in the next, hopefully, 3 years. Pete and Pedro is kind of like a lifestyle thing. I'm just rolling with it. And so my goals there, I've never hit all of my goals, right? And your goals will change. As you start a business, as you set goals, they need to change. They need to adjust. Because just being comfortable and just being like complacent, that's when things start sliding back. And the other good thing is that with any business, there always comes challenges and struggles. And so just when you think you figured it out, something happens, right? The iOS update or like whatever, or supply chain or COVID. So you can I don't know what it means to like ultimately hit a goal. My goals are to keep growing and building a brand and a business. And if it isn't working, pull the plug. Enemy, case in point. But great question. So this next question, oh God, it's such a great one. It's from our friend Jesse Taylor Vignew. I butchered that probably. But it's such a great question. I'm going to paraphrase it because it's a little bit long. But basically, Jesse's been working in the restaurant industry for 10 years. He went from dishwasher to like where he wants to be in the businesses. But during that time, it's really like put him through the ringer. And right now he's struggling, through bad managers and ups and downs, COVID, I'm sure. And he's having a little bit of a challenge, mentally in terms of his mental health. And he wants to know, is it wrong of him to take a break for a little bit, go do something different, work on his sanity and his mental health, and then possibly come back because his ultimate dream is to actually run or own a bar and restaurant? And this is such a great question because I think a lot of people neglect the fact that they are maybe struggling. Now, what you may find is that once you take a break and actually take a deep breath, you may find that it's not what you want to do moving forward, because the restaurant industry, the bar industry, it is a very, very challenging, as you know, my friend, industry. A lot of dysfunction goes into it, a lot of issues, and to make one successful, it's a challenge. And so is it something that you're going to go back to? Possibly after having a little bit of time to decompress and really reallocate your resources in terms of mental bandwidth to something else. You may decide, yes, I can't wait to get back. And when you do, you're going to come with a newfound invigoration and excitement and possibly clear vision. Because a lot of times, for me at least, when I'm super close to like the fire, it's kind of hard to see, right? But by taking a step back, taking a deep breath, it allows you to sort of analyze the situation and yourself a bit more. And coming into something new, it's going to basically benefit you because you had all this experience. Or coming back to something and starting again, you're now invigorated, you're rested, and you're fresh, and you can kick ass. But great question. Good luck. Take care of yourself. Your mental health, number one most important thing. Physical health, your time, there are other important ones, but you got to be strong mentally. I got to speed these up because I'm already talking too much. All right. Unless you just want to hang out for like a 45-minute video. Anyway, all right, so the Fire Phoenix says, I currently run multiple home service businesses and want to know if you have any advice on splitting your time between multiple businesses. Also, on having and training a manager to run most of the day-to-day operations. Appreciate the help. So you already know, right? You're being pulled thin. And what happens is when you have multiple businesses, typically you're going to go to the one that's going to produce the best result. And so if you're focused on this, something else is going to get left behind. And so for you to really be able to scale, you definitely need some help. You need to have the ability to basically come in and be high level. Training and trusting somebody to run the day-to-day operations is going to be one of the challenging things. Understand this. I guess this is the best piece of advice. Nobody is going to think of it as their business or their baby like you. And so going in expecting them to is different or difficult. You've got to just make sure that you do a good job, you touch base, you have a good culture, and you train them the best that you can. But know that you're going to always need to be giving them some type of input. But you should absolutely look for somebody to handle the tasks that you don't like so you can focus on the stuff that you're great at. But great question, and congratulations. The next business question is from our friend Paul Clark, My Freight Network. So hold on, there's a lot here. The first paragraph, Thank you for saying that. Second paragraph, business question. Dude, Menfluential. Can you explain a little bit about how you came up with the idea for Menfluential? Why you wanted to create it, the goal of creating it, plus you can share can you share any of your thoughts or opinions on how you would suggest somebody start a type of networking event as a business? Huh? No. So Menfluential started as my advertising agency, right? My best friend Terry, I've told that story a bunch of times. I needed help selling advertising for me. And then it was so successful, Antonio Centeno was like, yo, can he sell ads for me? I said yes, because Antonio and I had the Menfluential, at the time it was called StyleCon. And I believe it was like, I think we did it like 7 years. It started out in Anaheim, California. There was VidCon. Antonio called me up, was like, hey, let's meet up. Let's get some of these other dudes that I know in order to, kind of just get together, talk shop. Because at the time, I was very closed off from meeting other people, or basically I was scared that they were going to steal something I had. I thought all competition was bad. Antonio Centeno changed my mind and blew it when I actually went and met everybody. And so from that, I said, hey, Antonio, why don't you become partners with the Menfluential Media? And that way, because it would be really tough for me to sort of leverage the conference at that point with the agency of Antonio, because Antonio and I then started this what is StyleCon, the conference. We never made any money. Just so you know, I would not recommend that as a business. But it was a good opportunity for us to get people together and have a great party. It also allowed Menfluential Media to kind of meet a lot of people and just have an opportunity to come, like Terry and Brian and Tom, to come and meet, shake hands, and talk to all these other people, and also the agencies and the vendors that we were using and working with. Right? It was just a great. It was an amazing event, and it was so incredible, but it was so much work. It was so hard, and it literally would take somebody, it should be somebody's full-time job in order to set one of those things up. We just did not have the time, the bandwidth, or the energy in order to do that. In terms of how to start one, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. We started one, but we didn't do a really good job with making money because we never wanted to scale it bigger than it was, because that was the whole point. We wanted to be able to meet and talk and interact and just have a really personal, intimate setting and situation, which we definitely accomplished. But we had it at the same spot every year because we didn't want to outgrow that spot. It kind of just became like our thing that we would do once a year and have a big party with our friends. But that party was expensive, and it was hard, and it took a lot of work, and it took weeks to recover afterwards. But it was amazing, and I do miss it. But I don't really have much input or feedback. It was kind of started just to get guys together, and it grew from there, but we never treated it like a business. We always kind of just treated it like a party. But great question. Matt Miller, I love this question so much because this fits exactly in with kind of the Tiege whole thing that we did with this vlog. He says, I'm currently starting a veteran-owned watch company. First, thank you for your service. I've done all my research and currently in the prototype stage of the product. My question is, when is the best time to start marketing the product? Should I wait to get the product, or should I start marketing prior to hopefully build buzz around the product? So that's what we did with Tiege Hanley, right? This vlog is a perfect example. I wanted to start something to talk about it. I don't remember exactly I can probably look it up, how many episodes or weeks we filmed prior to us actually launching, but it was a while. It was probably every bit of, probably 5 months. It was a while. Now, because you're doing a watch, it's much more complex, and in terms of just like packaging and shipping and design and having it made and shipped to you, like there's a lot more probably that goes into that, as opposed to going to a lab, having products developed like we did with our chemist, and then having that fulfilled, ordering the cases or the packaging from China. So it's probably going to take you a little bit longer, but the cool thing is that you could start now and sort of talk about what's going on, start marketing, and get feedback from your customers, because that's the thing, and really maybe that's the angle. Like, hey guys, I'm developing this new badass watch and I need your feedback. What color do you like better? What strap? And that way you can do polls and you can just build an audience so that when you launch, boom, Tiege Hanley, 1,000 people day one when we launched Tiege Hanley, because people are waiting, they're ready. And so for you, having a website have a place for them to go, have a sign-up sheet or some type of like email capture so that you can actually capture the people that are interested and then either keep them up to date or maybe start an Instagram account or web, like whatever. But yes, now is the time, I would say. Start building the hype, start getting them involved, and you will sell a lot more watches when you launch. The next business question is from our friend Sansaner Ika. Dude, I can't even, I'm not even trying. I tried, I suck. First of all, you don't need to spell, it's too difficult. I should have read this beforehand. Hey Alpha, my question is how to balance the work life as an entrepreneur. I'm starting my own business, but sometimes I just have so much to do and get some of them done and go to bed frustrated that I couldn't finish the things that I'd planned. Secondly, please give some inspiration on how to avoid partying and alcohol as it's a huge negative effect on the work. I first saw your video 5 years ago on I quit alcohol or drinking, and this happened. And this video happened. He watches the video, and I'm not a big drinker. Just want to avoid alcohol as much as possible. So the alcohol. So real quick, talk about the alcohol. So I stopped drinking alcohol as a byproduct of me wanting to stop chewing tobacco. Right? I had a 2-can-a-day habit from the age of 18 to like 8 years ago. I forget exactly when I quit. And so in order for me to do that, I had to quit drinking alcohol. But coincidentally, I did have a problem with alcohol at that point in my life. I didn't think I did, but I did. And when I quit, because I needed to, because alcohol was a trigger for my nicotine and my craving, everything sort of got better in my life. And it's like, wow, I feel better, I look better, everything is awesome. Okay, it's not just the nicotine, it's the alcohol. So now my alcohol consumption is basically Friday, Saturday, once in a while, a glass of wine on Sunday. And typically, it's just a glass of wine or 2. If I'm really crazy, it might be 3. But nothing, I'm not abusing it like I used to, and I've got a good relationship now. But anyway, how do you avoid it? You just avoid it. You just make the decision and you do it. Unfortunately, one of the problems is that if you're going to go out and be social, people are going to give you a ton of shit when you don't drink because it draws attention to the fact that they are. And going to your friends that you used to party with and be like, no, I'm good, I'm just going to have water or whatever, they're going to give you so much shit. And so it's very hard, and it's also a lot of peer pressure. And so what I'd recommend is get something that looks like a drink and don't even tell them. Go up, get a Diet Coke, lime in it. Hey, it looks like a Jack and Coke or whatever. Or, you know, a seltzer with a lime. Like, it doesn't matter. As long as you're holding something and drinking and don't broadcast the fact that you're not drinking, you'll be totally cool. In terms of work-life balance as an entrepreneur, I don't know how to do that very well. I do now try to set time aside because I've done it for so long and I can figure out how to manage certain things, but I'm working all the time. And I just listened to a Mr. Beast podcast, and somebody asked him sort of a similar question. Granted, I don't think he has a family. He lives in his studio, and he's like, I love what I do. And so, you know, he always works, and he doesn't want to not work. He just loves the process, and, you know, thus he's the most successful creator basically on YouTube. But, you know, for most people, that doesn't work. You know, for the Gary Vee situation, most people don't have that ability and it's not healthy. All right, you've got to make sure that you set time for yourself. So what it looks like to you is going to be different than me, depending on if you have kids, depending on if you have a family, if you've got a 9-to-5 job, you've got to fit it in somewhere. If it means getting up a little bit earlier or going to bed a little bit later, do it, but just make sure that you're getting enough sleep, because without sleep and trying to just like grind it until you find it type of thing, can be a recipe for disaster, because you're going to be tired, you're going to be run down, and when you're run down and tired, nothing works as well. The next business question is from our friend Redhead Liner. He says, I've had some ideas to start a business, but my biggest worry is figuring out taxes. Wait, taxes are your biggest concern? That shouldn't be. I'm not a math guy, and all the jobs I've ever had have been very straightforward with a W-2. Is there any software company service that you would recommend to keep track of the sales and expenses? How does that all work? So taxes aren't that complicated, right? Finding a good accountant or an accountant that you trust and you can talk to, not like an H&R Block, like find somebody, get a referral from somebody that might already have a business or somebody that you know that maybe does well, that doesn't have a W-2, ask them for a referral, right? Good accountant is going to help point you in the right direction and help you itemize things. It's not that complicated. You know, the one thing you need to do is never underreport your income, you know, in terms of what you can write off, what you can't, depending on what you do, depending on your business, depending on the justification. It's a lot more gray in terms of the area, but, you know, a good accountant is going to help you. And so trying to do it on your own, I would not. Hire somebody. That way, they sign off on it, right? An accountant signs off on your taxes, that they are an accountant, they're certified, and they approve it. That way, if somebody would be like, wait, a red flag, or the IRS, the accountant is there basically putting their credibility on the line and can help you defend or fight any situation that may arise. But get an accountant. That's the only and best advice I can give you. Dude, there's so many business questions. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna punt to the next week for the rest of these. All right, now, if you want to, if I didn't get to your business question, you can copy and paste it if you're this far in the video into this one, or I'm gonna go back to this vlog next week because the questions are just so, God, there's so many great ones, and they're strong. They're not just like, how do I start a business? They're like, they're great questions. So gentlemen, if you have a business question down below, start with business question and ask it next week, following up on some of these amazing business questions. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being a supporter of Tiege Hanley, of everything I do, and also the soon-to-be out-of-business enemy. If you want badass shades, there's a link for 50% off down below. Gentlemen, you rock.